I was thinking about Sidekick and that it could be used as a way to document aspects of your life. And when combined with higher talk, it can be a niche form of documenting your life when you're tuned into a higher frequency. And as you document your life and live it in a higher frequency, you're showing people that you're able to manifest little magical wonders, right? And if you lean into this and choose to believe in this narrative, the stuff I'm speaking about resource and about higher frequency and about grace and ego and all this stuff, it all ties into a body of understanding, or at least a way of thinking. And so it's an exploration of this narrative. It's a continuation, an extension of this same narrative, right? But it's in a form that if you follow these steps and follow an extension of my intuition, which is, oh, here's a great idea. If you have a camera, a 360-degree camera, kind of sitting near your shoulder, kind of in front of you, just in front of your shoulder, almost as if there's a person, a friend, standing right there with you, right? And so that point of view, that third person point of view next to you, it can really feel like you're there with them as a viewer. And so if you go around recording, like with the Sidekick idea, and here's an example, right? So you are hungry. So you need to go to the supermarket and pick up some ingredients to make some food, right? An everyday kind of situation for the vast number of people, right? Pretty much everyone. It gets in that situation at some point, right? So it's incredibly relatable. And so this idea is already you're kind of engaged, because if they end up making some amazing dish and you followed them in their thought process, and their thought process would be partly just them just rambling on with their experience, right? Being a stream of consciousness. But it comes down to they kind of validifying this narrative, that there's so much truth to it, that I have observed that when I am in a higher state, I am able to put together wondrous things. In the example of cooking, I can put together a wonderful dish, right? Truly inspired. Not only that, but the process of me cooking it is way more finely tuned in, and I start to kind of channel, my inner home cook, right? My inner chef. In a higher frequency, in a higher state, I tend to manifest and characterize myself as some kind of chef, right? Because I can tune in. That's one of the superpowers, right? You manifest and you actually become part of what you imagine. So I'm able to quite skillfully, like eerily skillfully, because I haven't learned anything formally, right? I'm not a chef, but yet if I present myself as I'm somehow able to act like I'm a chef, like do things really well and really creatively inspired, it makes you think, this guy has to be a chef. Like, what's going on? That can't just be imagination. And so, again, it's this subcontext of, well, it's not just my imagination. It goes along with what I've been hinting at, which is, it's true that when you're in a higher state, whether through recreational drugs, whether through like THC, or whether it's through meditation, or whether it's through intense passion in whatever you're doing, right? A love of what you're doing. And a love is also a form of high. So that's why love is so addictive. And people, when they're in it, they are literally in a state of high. It's not inebriation from a substance because it wasn't induced in that way, but it has been induced through the interpersonal relationships, the empathy, the extreme empathy and bond and connection with another conscious entity, right? And that comes out as love. And so then you're able to tune in to each other's frequency, or at least theirs to begin with. And you start tuning into a higher state. And a lot of the time when you catch yourself just falling for that individual, you're kind of getting high, right? It has that same kind of like loopy feeling. And also the feeling of optimism and joy and celebration and gratitude. And just, it makes you want to kind of like skip a little bit. It brings you to happiness. It evokes happiness and joy. And not only that, but when you're high, either in the state of love or whatever it is, things just seem to be possible. Like things just happen. And you might call it, serendipity or whatever it is, or synchronicity, whatever. But the narrative seems very similar in that when you're in a higher state, as being in a form of high, you are closer to your higher self. And your higher self is a state of being that is, I don't know, a part of you or a sibling of you or some kind of relation. I don't know. I can't really identify the archetypes of these higher beings or higher entities, whether they are a part of us or separate, an influence, who knows. This whole narrative keeps coming together in my mind and solidifying as truth. And so every one of these ideas, I'm like, oh, I could see amazing potential in that. I would love to watch a video of someone seemingly just go to a supermarket with no idea about what they're going to get and start picking through different ingredients and narrating what they're imagining in their mind. Oh, at home, for example, the meal I'm cooking right now is I had some leftover tomato sauce, just a basic tomato sauce, right? I had some tomatoes that were going soft, so I needed to use them. So I cooked up some tomatoes and lovely fresh tomatoes with some garlic and onion, just light seasoning, And I made a very simple sauce. And I added some passata as well to give it some richness, some thickness. Right, so I started off with that. And then, what else did I have? I had some old potatoes left. And that's another thing that got me thinking. The thing about potatoes. The sprouting ones. So, I had some old potatoes and some old sauce, some tomato sauce. So I was like, all right, well, what can I make? So I went to the supermarket and I had those ingredients in my mind. Anything else was up for grabs. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, I want to have some form of vegetable and some form of carb and some form of protein or extra nutrients. That's usually how I like to structure a round meal. Very loose. So, okay, potatoes, that's some carb. And it's a vegetable, obviously. The tomato sauce, very rich in the nutrients I need from vegetables, so that takes care of the vegetables. And then the carbohydrates, they can be found in the potatoes also, but what if I was to have some pasta or whatever. So then the meal I'm making now is uh, roasted potatoes. I picked up a bag of squash and sweet potato, and so I cut up my old potatoes in the same size, and I seasoned them and oiled, and now they're in the oven. And I also picked up a bag of meatballs that were also discounted. So I go around this supermarket and I look at what's discounted, and I just kind of pick up what I think would fit my needs for that evening. So yeah, picked up these things, whacked them in the oven. Now the meatballs are coated in the oil in the same salt and pepper as the potatoes and the squash, and all that's being oven roasted right now, whilst the leftover sauce that was in the fridge is reheating up, and I've added another tin of chopped tomatoes, right? So it's just a very simple meal, but here I'm going to have some nice protein from those meatballs that are being baked in the oven, along with the potatoes and squash all around it. And so it's going to be baked potatoes and meatballs with a tomato sauce, right? It seems so simple, and it is, and it's cheap because I got the ingredients so, yellow thicker. But I love this journey of doing that, of going to a supermarket with just an idea about what you have in your fridge, with a loose idea about what you want to create, and then being in a state of high, you can manifest that. And so now I could have recorded myself cooking all that, and it could have been really fascinating to watch, right? And be engaged with. I would love to watch that. So if I would love to watch that, then it's worth putting out there sometime and see if other people want to watch it too. And if that trend catches on, that ties into Sidekick and also Higher Talks, because it's an extension of that too, it could just really validify everything that I've been thinking is true and valuable, and it can actually happen. It can actually happen and manifest. So let's do it.